And are we ready for our panel? Our panelists mic'd up? No? We are, Christopher? We got everyone dialed in, mic'd up, ready to go. And our executive panel, Accelerating Successful IT Strategies with World-Class Technologies and Partnerships. Christopher Bernard, your great hands. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Hunter.
And our panelists, please come up and take the stage.
Come on up.
So sit in the
Anywhere you'd like. So, welcome back, everyone. We all are really working with new technologies, aware of new technologies out there, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data, analytics, cyber type of code, low code, no code, all of these things. But how do we best leverage those things? And more importantly, how can we accelerate our use of these technologies by leveraging our vendors, our venture capitalists, and our partners in the industry? And I've got a collection on the panel today that really is going to give us some great insight onto that. And I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves. So, Yvonne?
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Yes, Yvonne Hyland. I'm with B Capital, where I lead portfolio business development. Prior to that, actually, was 11 years with Gartner. I joined B Capital last fall. Very pleased to be here on this distinguished panel. And maybe just a little bit about B Capital. So, is that okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So B Capital is a multi-stage investment firm investing globally. We have about 140 companies that we've invested in. We have a strategic partner in BCG, and we provide thought leadership, strategies, and actionable advice to our portfolio companies and also to our partners. One of the things, and I think we'll talk about this shortly, is that not being from the VC world, but entering into the VC world, there is a clear opportunity for technology leaders like yourself to partner with the VCs in terms of helping accelerate digital transformation, as well as to get a jump on innovation and become an innovation leader. Partnering with a VC really does give opportunity to get involved in understanding what the breakthrough ideas are going to be, in understanding where innovation is going, and additionally, sort of getting that option to have access to these organizations can help established corporations like yours to get a jump start on innovation and really to help insulate themselves as well from disruption coming through innovation in general from the community. So I think as you know, and you'll see, innovation from within is a great aspiration to have, but just given the speed of everything today, it's not possible usually. And so that's where I think partnering with a VC, which is perhaps a little untraditional for an enterprise and for a technology leader, can really have some benefits. So thanks, Chris.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to hear more, having heard about your new role. So, Anthony.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Anthony Palladino. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Aisera. And prior to that, I had some executive and leadership roles at Splunk and CloudBees, if you know those firms. I have an opportunity to work with a bunch of different types of early stage companies as an advisor, as well as an investor in some, and working on different go-to-market types of activities. So looking forward to the dialogue today. I'm from New Jersey, and I spent a lot of time at the Jersey Shore, so if you have any Jersey jokes on the next break, I'm a good sport about it. So,
Craig, welcome.
So, Craig Stewart, I'm CDO at SnapLogic, and for pretty much all of my career I've been in data and application development, actually helping customers get value out of the data that they have and the applications that they're using. And so I've worked for a few companies that you've heard of, companies like SnapLogic and Oracle and Sybase, and Cognos, and a number in between that you won't have heard of. I won't detail them all, but I've been in the data business for many years, and really it's getting value from that data that customers need to do. And at SnapLogic is one of the leading iPaaS vendors, integration platform as a service, that actually is able to eliminate the silos of information across an organization, whether it's application integration, data integration, API management, all of those things in a single coherent platform that actually delivers the ability to flow data across the enterprise, what we call enterprise automation.
And that is not a Jersey accent?
That is not a Jersey accent. You're
He's
right.
working on it. Thank God.
Yes, hi, I'm Bashir Agboola. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at the Hospital for Special Surgery. We are an orthopedic medical hospital. I've spent the last 2 decades in healthcare tech. Prior to HSS, I was with Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. I love this space. I love healthcare tech. It's been really exciting. Perhaps in the last 2 years, we have major forces shaping care delivery in the country, perhaps in the world, with what happened during the pandemic. Now, and we have advancements in AI and machine learning technologies and telecommunications technologies with partnerships from digital native startups, companies that are taking their expertise in digital and coming into the healthcare space, tackling some of the really difficult problems that's kept our healthcare system broken for a long time. And then also we have the infusion of cash from VCs, like Yvonne. Really that first half of last year, there was a record $15 billion of VC funding in healthcare. So it's a really exciting time to be in healthcare and healthcare tech because we're now closer perhaps than ever to addressing many of those thorny issues we've had in healthcare with technologies like AI, machine learning, data. So pretty excited to talk about that today.
Well, let's actually stay on that. I mean, obviously AI, machine learning, et cetera, are touching lots of industries, but you've talked about how they've touched healthcare. Maybe talk a little bit more about how that's changed access, how your partnership with some of these new ventures has changed the way that you deliver services and how we deliver healthcare as an industry.
Sure. So it's no longer news that with the pandemic, everybody switched to virtual care models in order to be able to reach out to patients where they are. So that's the direction the industry is going. Providing care, meeting people's care needs where they are, wherever that might be. One of the problems in healthcare traditionally has been access. There are those in society that are disadvantaged from getting access to healthcare. Talk about the urban poor, talk about the rural poor, talk about people in far-flung places. And so with advancements in AI and telecommunications and the entrance of big tech companies, now we're able to reach out to people where they are. Behavioral health is one of the areas where people struggled for a long time. And because there just wasn't enough access. Even people living in cities where you have big academic medical institutions had trouble with access. But now we find out that behavioral health is one of the areas, probably the area that benefits the most from virtual care. Mental health, people are able to gain access much quicker than before. So we're using machine learning technologies to analyze data to better have insights into the social determinants of care, to understand better what are the factors that would improve someone's clinical outcomes. What are the factors that would adversely impact their care? So now clinicians are able to look at some of that data right in the EHR while being with a patient. So when you are interacting with a patient, given what you see, this person is likely not to comply with their medication. They're likely not to adhere to their medication requirements. Their housing situation is such that it's not good for their health. So that information, now we're able to gain that, using machine learning algorithms right at the point of care. So things like that is really helping to shift care in a direction that we've struggled for years to take it.
Excellent. And you've leveraged a lot of new vendors as you've done that then?
Absolutely. Now, it's really interesting to hear that big tech companies, practically all of them have healthcare verticals now. You know, Amazon is in the ambulatory care business now across half the nation. You know, Google, they just recently introduced their Google Studio, I forgot what they call, Care Studio, which now allows you to search EHR data, you know. So many of these guys, the big retail companies, the big telecommunications companies, they're all into healthcare because they are digitally smarter than we are in healthcare traditionally. And so we find great value in those partnerships and in partnerships with the digital upstarts, you know, digital native companies that are coming out to tackle specific, very niche problems in healthcare. And with the support of people like Yvonne pumping money into those ventures, I think the future is looking brighter than before.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen as well is things like on the front end with real-world evidence, right, RWE and drug development as well is really being accelerated by the sort of citizens who are agreeing to be part of the evidence base on a real-time ongoing basis. And it's both people who are sick and then people who are not, right? So the ability to monitor people in their lives, right, in their workplace, gather that data and use that in acceleration of drug development. So that's also a big area, I think, which
Absolutely.
is making massive steps forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting.
It absolutely sounds like it, and it sounds like a lot of artificial intelligence, machine learning type of things. So Anthony, how are you using artificial intelligence to do collective learnings and really help to make a shared environment and things you can share with your customers to do better?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at Aisera, we're an AI service management company. So we're focused on employee and customer experiences and making them better, being able to actually resolve requests in a conversation before they become a ticket, either for service management or a help desk. But specifically with us, what we've done is we've been able to leverage the learnings from analyzing millions and millions of tickets across all different disciplines. And we've then taken those learnings and created what we call domains. So an ontologies and taxonomies, which are basically vocabularies on how to communicate with people. The result is that we're able to communicate in a way that's natural, personal, and very accurate for employees. And those use cases are places like the healthcare frontline workers. So we can actually enable them to get their request resolved instantaneously, get back into serving critical care and doing their job, which has had a huge impact on employee experience. It's had an operational impact as well, to be able to run the business in a way that gets back to it. We do it on the customer side as well, to provide better customer experiences, which is a different affecting customer satisfaction, affecting net promoter score. So some really top line, and I think what are really critical for people and employees these days, which is meeting them where they are. That's a word we use a lot too, Bashir. Meeting users where they are in a way that they like to engage in a very, very personal way. So we've created our AI to make that conversation very natural. And that's been well received by our customers, especially across healthcare companies, across FinServ companies, across tech companies. All users want to be met in a way that's natural to them, and that's what we've really used our AI to do.
And it sounds like because you've got this broad breadth that you could go into an industry, a company, a customer, and bring significant value in that they don't have that scope and scale. Are you seeing that?
For sure, and along the lines of partnerships, I think one of the things that, it's been an implicit theme today, which is around transparency and visibility. And for us, we've built out partnerships running with AWS, running with Microsoft, working within teams. There's an expectation, I think, for vendors today to have the integrations already defined with their partners, so that as an end customer you can deploy quickly. So we've really spent a lot of time on that, but what we also provide is full transparency into the way that things are integrated, and how they're integrated, and how they can change over time. So we spent a lot of time on that, but I think it's been well met, because this expectation of transparency and expectation to keep up the pace and innovation of change is so fast, and that's the responsibility that we've taken. So.
Excellent. So Yvonne, been referenced a couple times of the venture capital world. So how can venture capital VC help those technology executives like we have in the audience to really evaluate emerging technologies and figure out what could play in our space where we can take it in our industry?
Yeah. I think there's sort of three areas, right? One is around assurance and certainty, the other is around speed and efficiency, and then the third is just to keep ahead of the game. So if you think about a venture capital firm, any venture capital firm, the amount of due diligence that's done before investing many millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in a company is quite substantial, as you would imagine, right? So we look at the product, fit for purpose, the product roadmap, the strategy, certainly the management team is very important. And there's a lot of investigation, there's a lot of companies looked at before an investment decision is made. Once that decision's made, then we invest many, many millions of dollars. I think that amount of certainty and assurance that it brings to a technology executive like yourself in terms of at least de-risking your purchase is a pretty big deal, right? Because you would have to invest that time and effort yourselves and probably would not, you probably would not get to the level of due diligence that we do. So there's that level of assurance and certainty. I think the second thing is that often, and we do the same, we invest thematically or by sectors. So, for example, RevOps, actually, which is probably dear to your heart, which is around Chief Revenue Officer, Sales Officer, and CMO. We've invested there, for example, in HighSpot, in Clary, in Sixth Sense. So that covers the whole RevOps spectrum from handling the revenue process, thank you, yep, handling the revenue process to doing ABM, account-based marketing, to enabling the field sales force with the knowledge and the information in the standardized way that they need. So again, from your perspective, if you're looking for an end-to-end solution, you kind of have a one-stop shop to look at in many ways, right? So that's the second thing. And then the third thing, I think, by staying engaged is that you can keep ahead of what's going on in the tech world, because we are constantly looking at what's next and what's next and what's next and what's next, right? So you can sort of keep in touch with us or with any VC, but certainly we're very very conscious of staying a few steps ahead of the game to get input as to where you should be thinking. And because technology is going so quickly, I mean, you won't probably take every wave, right? You may leapfrog a few when you decide it's time for you to jump in. And I think that staying engaged with the VC in that context can provide a lot of value as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've spoken a couple different industries, and every time I speak to Yvonne and her team, I get some insight to where it's going. So I encourage all of you, if you've got the opportunity, B Capital or anyone else. Craig, love to hear from you in terms of what do you see as the barriers to really getting value from newer technology for customers in this current crop of ever-changing technology?
I think some of the things that have been spoken about already here, one of the biggest challenges in any implementation of technology to find a solution is getting access to the data. And this has historically been a challenge across the years, but many organizations, as you go from a monolithic environment to the modern best of breed type environment that we see, data ends up in silos. And in order for each of the technologies to work effectively, you need to be able to access that data. You need to be able to bring it together. And data is the enabler, but it is also the barrier. And finding ways for your organization to be able to bring that data together is a critical aspect. And SnapLogic has been in that business for some time. And our heritage is in helping enterprises to actually be able to make sense of the data and to feed systems like Anthony's and others, so that they can be used. You know, if you want to do data science, you want to do ML and AI, you need to get the data into the data scientist's hands. That is often a big challenge for an organization. You need to figure out ways of achieving that. And you know, that means that you need to have, you know, firstly, access to those systems. And when you are evaluating any of the technologies that you might be looking to adopt, access to the data that is in there is a really important aspect of that. You know, when Salesforce was first you know, being adopted widely, you know, one of the challenges that many organizations had was, I keep putting the data in there, but how do I get it out? You know, I want to be able to do analysis and things. You know, it's taken a number of years for them to have assembled enough technologies to be able to allow you to do that. But you know, today, that's still a challenge. Is okay, and you know, even if they provide APIs, how are you going to get those APIs and use them, and to be able to do that in a way that you know, you're not ending up writing a lot of code? That's you know, going to be a critical part of it, because that's just adding to your digital backlog of, you know, okay, well, we've built it once, but now we need to continue maintaining it. Every piece of code that you write, there's got a long tail of maintenance. You know, there's people in this room that smile at that. It's like we have you know, been buried under that over the years. But finding ways that you can concentrate on the business of your business rather than the business of integration is a really important part of it.
Absolutely. So, you know, we've talked about the leadership principles, and you know, one of the big ones was trust, right? And I think this is with our vendors, right? How can we establish that area of trust? Someone like me or any other executives, just ask you, what would your advice be to trusting and working with vendors? And we'll start at the end, Bashir.
So I think part of it is the vendors need to leave what their commitments. So it's not enough to have a core commitment, but also to demonstrate that in your very essence as an organization. And I'm saying deep within the fabric of your organization. That should be felt by every employee. So at HSS, for example, we value, our CEO talks about culture as a strategy. You know, every organization has their key strategy. To us, our culture is a key strategy. That's why someone would travel from overseas and travel all the way to the Upper East Side, which is difficult to get to have a knee surgery done. So really, as an organization, you need to leave your core commitments. That's what we look out for when we work with you. And then being there for us in our times of needs, like many of our partners were at the onset of the pandemic when, you know, hell broke loose. We needed things in place. We needed them fast. Some partners stepped up and jumped in and helped, and some did not. And then lastly, you know, trusting that your internal processes are sound. So for example, in the area of data analytics and machine learning, we're seeing some concerns. I mean, just a few years ago, New York State government called out a major provider, a major payer in our area for using an algorithm that wrongly favored some people for care. So it favored healthier white males for care above sicker black patients. Now, they fixed the algorithm. So we would want to know before we start using your technology that, you know, the models you use, the people training those models, they're conscious of whatever biases they need to watch out for and that might creep into the data, and the models are not trained with bad data. You know, all of that, you need to demonstrate that to us for us to trust that what you're going to bring before us is safe to use. In healthcare, we're dealing with human lives and well-being. If it fails, it's someone's health that's going to get compromised.
Excellent advice. Hunter, you should share this with all your vendors. Greg, your thoughts and what we can best do.
I think one of the most important things is make your relationship with your vendors a partnership. There's got to be a trust, and building a partnership with that vendor. Take references. Get references from people you know. This community is an excellent way of doing that. Find people that are solving similar problems to you, where you can. See what other people are doing. Find people that they trust, and build out those relationships. The best thing I have been able to do is, in my role as a CDO at SnapLogic, I've been working with customers for the past 11 years. People know that when the proverbial hits the fan, if they ring my phone number, and I've still got the same phone number, if they ring my phone number and they get hold of me, I will do my damnedest to make sure that I help them resolve the challenge they're going through. Now, it may be that somebody in our organization hasn't done something, any of those things, but they know that if they get hold of me, that I will do my damnedest to make sure I solve the problem, because I've built a relationship with them. And that trust relationship is very important. The people in this room will all, I'm sure, understand it. Certainly, within the financial services industries, it is critical. Nobody wants to be purely a transaction. And so to avoid that, build a relationship with your vendor.
Before you need it.
Three things. Number one, I think the deeper you go into the technology, so I'm always asking my teams to make sure we understand the use cases, the functionality. Document it, make sure we're well aligned, define that. Let the vendor put the work in to really make sure you're well aligned. Number two, define the scope that's reasonable. Vendors don't want to fail. They want to do the best job they can. They want to help you get promoted. They want to help you to progress your career and have great stories to go tell your CFO when he or she's asking about your business case and say, I exceeded it by 25% a couple months early. That's a beautiful thing, because that means more for the vendor. And the third thing I think that we really focus on is making sure there's good communication and expectations. And that's not anything new, but you have to put a lot of work into it, and you have to, I think as a vendor, you have to earn the right and respect to be, have an adult to adult dialogue and relationship. And when you do, then you're on the same page. You can execute on that scope. So that's what we think about.
And it needs to be two-way.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Yvonne, bring us home.
Yeah, so, well, in regards to trust, and I certainly echo everything that's been said, and I think expectation settings is a big part of it. And I also totally agree that most people want to do the right thing and are mutually in it to do well, right? So I think, perhaps if you advance that a little bit, is that go in with a position of trust until proven otherwise. I mean, that's kind of my way of doing things, which sometimes is a bit naive, but 9 times out of 10 works out. And I think that it's really important that that you sort of have that approach and the mindset, and clearly do set expectations so that you're not disappointed. But I think, I don't know, in general, anecdotally, it would seem that COVID also has at least made people's desire to work better and collaborate more a lot higher than it used to be as well. So I think maybe that's one good thing that came from there. But certainly trust is a big thing, as we've heard many times today.
Absolutely. Unintended consequences of COVID. So we've got time maybe for one question. Anyone? Okay.
One there.
Well then, we've got one back.
Great panel, thank you. Bashir, when it comes to AI in the Hospital of Special Surgery, what tools are you using today to advance the customer's needs?
So there are some technologies in the ORs that are designed to assist the surgeons in being more precise with what they're doing in instrument recognition. And then also on the analytics side, on the data analytics side, we've actually made some strides in the last couple of years by moving our data to the cloud. And the analogy that our scientists use is we want to bring people to the data. So the data is there, the data lake is in the cloud. We're putting genomics data there, we're putting PACS data there, we're putting data from the EHR there, and that's allowing different people within the organization to come to that data lake and do whatever, meet their data needs there. So the day is still young, I think, but I think we're headed in the right direction there.
Thank you. And are they neural networks or are they algorithms that work at scale?
That's way above my pay grade right there. But the other thing I'll say, and this is not just HSS, and in one area, hospitals are traditionally very low operating margin businesses, very low operating margins. One of the areas where we're finding really low-hanging fruits is in the revenue cycle management. So there are many companies out there now with RPAs and with AI and plus intelligent automation, helping hospitals to do better claims management, detect and prevent fraud. So so any of you AI guys out there, if you're thinking of a product idea, that's an area right for the pickings, because that's where you can help us move the needle on our margins.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're out of time, but I want to thank, this is a great panel, great insights. Thank you all so much for your thoughts and comments. A big round of applause.
Thank you.
For more information, please visit hmgstrategy.com and keep up to date by following us on our social media platforms. Thank you.